What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I want to recap Sunday's loss against the LA Chargers. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. I appreciate you guys continuing to tune into the channel. We are on the quest to 1,000 subscribers. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys continuing to share out my content on all the social media platforms. If you would like to follow your boy on Twitter, you can follow me at JewTalkSports. But with that being said, I do want to apologize to you guys. I've been MIA for the last couple days. I actually had a family emergency, so I wasn't able to do the post-game show on Sunday evening. And then also I wasn't able to do my Tuesday night show, the Atlanta Falcons Heavy Hitters, with me, Mad Mike, and K-Styles. They did the show yesterday. They held it down, so I appreciate those guys. Salute to my guys over there at AFN for holding it down. Also, J-Rock joined them for the show on Tuesday night. So I just wanted to apologize for my absence. Like I said, my family comes first. And in this case, it was a family emergency, so I wasn't able to tune in. But now I'm back and better than ever. And I definitely want to talk about Sunday's game because I haven't had a chance to kind of break down what I saw in the game. So with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So it was a lot of different things that I noticed Sunday in the loss to the LA Chargers. To me personally, number one, to me, was the worst loss of the season for our Atlanta Falcons. Reason being, to me, I don't think that the LA Chargers are a well-coached team. No disrespect to Anthony Lynn, I believe was the name of the head coach. No disrespect to him, but I just feel like that whole coaching staff over there has been pretty much like our Atlanta Falcons coaching staff, to be honest with you. The Chargers are not a well-coached team. They're not a disciplined team. You can tell by some of the things that went on in the game. That 3rd and 17, where we picked up at 3rd and 17, where we threw the ball, I think it was to Russell Gage, and nobody was even around him. He basically just ran like 18 yards and turned around, and Matt Ryan was able to hit him right down the middle of the field on just a quick curl route, on a comeback route, and he was wide open. It looked like it was a miscommunication by the Chargers defense. Then another play in the game at the end of the half, their offensive coordinator, instead of throwing the ball or spiking the ball, they ran the ball with, I think it was only like about 10 seconds on the clock. They didn't have any more timeouts left, and they ran the football, and they weren't able to get their special teams unit on the field to kick a field goal right before the halftime. So it's just poor clock management, a lot of hiccups on that. On the LA Chargers side, as far as coaching. And to me, that's what made it the worst loss for the Atlanta Falcons, because the Chargers did everything they could on Sunday to give us that W, and we just couldn't take it. For whatever reason, we couldn't capitalize on any of the mistakes that they made. Number two in the game, that one thing that I really noticed, this was Matt Ryan's worst game of the season. He had 3 interceptions, 2 of them late in the game. Bleedy Way Wilson, shout out to Bleedy Way. The old veteran cornerback came up with another interception at the end of the game with about 40 seconds left. I believe it was about 47 seconds left when Bleedy Way picked off the ball. And then Matt Ryan actually threw an interception himself to give the Chargers one last shot to try to drive down the field and kick a field goal. And they were able to drive down the field and kick the game-winning field goal. So this was definitely Matt Ryan's worst game of the season. He even said it after the game in his post-game press conference. Being that he's the leader of the team, face of the franchise, Matt Ryan has always been a great leader. He definitely showed leadership after the game. He basically apologized to the team in the locker room, and he also, in his post-game press conference, basically stated that he just had a bad game. He didn't play well, and a lot of the interceptions were bad interceptions. The out route that he tried to throw to Calvin Ridley that got picked off, where he threw the ball too much on the inside. He didn't put enough zip on the ball, which is a no-no. Throwing the ball late on an out route is a no-no. Another no-no is staring down your receiver. And it was actually Hayden Hurst late in the game. Hayden Hurst did a quick comeback route, and Matt Ryan stared it down, and the safety was able to read his eyes and pick the ball off. The play kind of reminded me of the pick six that Deion Jones had at the end of the season against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where Jameis Winston, he picked off Jameis Winston. He was staring down. I think it was Cameron Brate, his tight end. It was a similar play. He basically just tried to throw a quick comeback, about a 5 or 6 yard pass, and he stared down the receiver. Similar to Matt Ryan on Sunday, he basically stared down Hayden Hurst on that play, and the safety was able to step in front for the interception, which ended up being basically the game-winning interception because they were able to go down, drive down the field to kick a field goal. So it was definitely the worst game of the season for Matt Ryan. I do think that all the Matt Ryan haters need to pump the brakes. Even the media needs to pump the brakes. Matt Ryan's been getting questions this week, asking about how much does he have left in the tank. And Matt Ryan basically said he has a lot left in the tank, that it was just a bad game. It was a bad moment. And great players have bad games. But let's just be honest. Tom Brady this year has thrown, I think, 3 or 4 pick sixes this year. I know early in the season against the Saints, he threw a pick six. Then he threw another pick six, I think, the second time that they played the Saints at home. So, great players have bad games. That's just the bottom line. It's not all Matt Ryan's fault. I do put this game against the Chargers mainly on Matt Ryan because I hold Matt Ryan on a high pedestal. I do think that he's definitely a Hall of Fame player. And I definitely think he's a top 10 quarterback in the game today still. He is one of the better quarterbacks. He's a veteran quarterback. He's been around. He recently just passed Peyton Manning for the most passing yards within the 13-year career. So he's broken a ton of passing records. He's already top 10 all time in passing. And Matt Ryan, he was given the name, Matty Ice for a reason. And that was because of how clutch he was in 2-minute situations at the end of the game. He was one of the best at fourth quarter comebacks and things of that nature. He holds a lot of the records for fourth quarter comebacks. And I do think that Matt Ryan still has that comeback ability. He still has that Matty Ice magic still in his running through his veins. I just think in this game, it didn't come into fruition. And in this game, he just had a bad outing. Like I said, I've seen great players. I don't care what sport you look at. Michael Jordan, whoever you want to look at, Kobe Bryant, all these guys have had, terrible games. And I just put this down as one of Matt Ryan's worst games of his career. 3, another thing I noticed in this game, Dirk Cutter. I mean, we've talked about him all year. Dirk Cutter just has a hard head. He's very stubborn. He's not, it almost looks as if he's not studying film. To me, this was one of Dirk Cutter's best called games personally, because I felt like in this game, they did kind of get creative with Russell Gage doing the Wildcat and throwing the touchdown to Calvin Ridley. And to me, this is one of Dirk Cutter's most creative games. He got Matt Ryan out on the move. The play caller was pretty creative. They were very aggressive going down the field. The problem that I have with Dirk Cutter in this game is him not running the football. We've talked about it week in and week out. Dirk Cutter just refuses to run the football. I've given you guys a stat pretty much on the last couple videos that I've done. The Falcons are 4-0 when they run the ball or attempt 30 runs in a game. When they attempt to run the ball 30 times in a game, we're 4-0. And we're now sit at 4-9 on the season. We have been eliminated from the playoffs or playoff contention. But every single game that we've won, all 4 games that we've won this year, we've attempted at least 30 run attempts. Every game that we haven't attempted to run the ball at least 30 times or 25 times, we've lost those games. So that all goes on to Dirk Cutter. He hasn't been creative. Mike talked about it last night. We have 4 running backs on this team, but we're not using Quadri Olsen. He's not even dressing in these games. Brian Hill, who's pretty much my favorite running back on the team. And to me, I think he's possibly, has the most potential at that running back position on this team, is not seeing the field enough. To me, he only had, I think, on Sunday, 8 carries or something like that. Todd Gurley only had 6 carries. So it's just terrible play calling. We're out of balance. And anytime you're out of balance and you're not running the football, you're going to continue to lose games because you cannot control the clock. You cannot control tempo when you don't run the football. And you cannot play physical when you have your offensive line steady, backpedaling, and not allowing those guys to go forward and impose their will on the defense and tire out the defense. I feel like we're doing a lot of these teams favors by not running the football. If we take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles in the game that they actually won on Sunday against the Saints, the Eagles were able to win that game because they ran the football, not only with their running backs, but they ran the football with Jalen Hurts. The only reason that he had, more success than a guy like Carson Wentz is because they were able to control the clock. They were able to get physical with the New Orleans Saints, who currently has the number one offense and the number one defense, excuse me. And that just shows why I talk about running the football is so important. You have to run the football in the NFL. If you don't run the football, if you look at the teams that win a lot of games, if you look at the teams that are physical and impose their will on the opponent, they're teams that are able to run the football. Throughout this year, it's been proven. Like I said, Jalen Hurts for the Eagles is a rookie. In his first start this season. It was his first start of the season, and they were able to beat the number one defense in the New Orleans Saints, the same team that we just lost to with a Hall of Fame quarterback. That just goes to show you right there that Dirk Cutter's play calling is horrible. When you have a team with a rookie quarterback that's able to dominate, because if you go back and watch the game, I actually watched the game between the Eagles and the Saints, and the Eagles pretty much dominated. I actually recorded the game and went back and watched it, and the Eagles dominated the Saints. And the reason they were able to dominate them is because they were able to win in the trenches. And I talk about it week in and week out. If the Falcons want to win games, we have to be physical. We have to run the ball. And we have to stay balanced. If you're not balanced and you just continue to pass the football, your quarterback is going to take a lot of hits. Your offensive line is going to get tired. They're going to start holding and getting unnecessary penalties. And your defense is going to be on the field a lot more because you're not going to be able to sustain drives. And that's what the Eagles were able to do against the Saints. And that's what a lot of these teams that have winning records have been able to do. They remain in balance. Even in Kansas City, Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator, those guys over there in Kansas City, they understand that even though they have Pat Mahomes and one of the best passing offenses in the game, they still know that they have to remain balanced. They still use those running backs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They picked up Le'Veon Bell. Last year they had the kid Damian Williams, and they understood the importance of staying balanced and not exposing your hand, not showing the team what you're trying to do. That's what scheming is all about. Having a scheme and having those 15 plays that you come into a game with, those scripted plays. The whole point of doing that is for the teams to not know what you're doing, to have those unscouted looks. And to me, this year, Dirk Cutter did a poor job of giving unscouted looks. To me, this game plan for this game should have been used against the Saints. The reason I say that is because it seems like when we played the Saints, they're a team that knows us very well. So why against the Saints you wouldn't run Wildcat with Russell Gage, which is an unscouted look? Why wouldn't you get more creative in the games against the NFC South opponents? Like this week, we're playing the Buccaneers. They're a team that sees us 2 times a year. They're inside of the division. That's the time to give unscouted looks. If you want to, be predictable, you want to be predictable in the games like against the AFC. If we were going to be predictable and have, use those plays that we used against the Saints and against the Panthers, those are plays that we should have used against the AFC opponents, against the Chargers. To me, this game plan that we had coming into this game against the Chargers was more creative than it's been all season. It still wasn't creative enough for my liking, but I do think that Dirk Cutter, for the play calling, to me, it was one of his better games at calling plays. I just think that he didn't do enough as far as running the football. Another thing that I didn't like in this game, and K Styles touched on it last night with the heavy hitters, him, Mad Mike, and J Rock, was the play calling of throwing the ball to the fullback. A couple of plays that I seen in this game where they were throwing the ball to Keith Smith, splitting him out wide. In these plays where they're having Keith Smith in the backfield to block, I don't like the play calling, and I don't like the scheme with using a guy like Keith Smith in that facet. If you're going to put someone in the backfield, why not put Hayden Hurst in the backfield? A guy that actually can catch the ball and can run after catch and also can block. Hayden Hurst is a big guy. Use him in the backfield. If you are too afraid to use Ito Smith because he's a smaller running back, and if you're not going to play Todd Gurley in those situations or Brian Hill, why not put Hayden Hurst in the backfield? A guy that's big and physical, a guy that can catch a screen pass and get yak yardage, and a guy that can actually run some of the routes that they were having Keith Smith run when you're splitting him out wide and having him do those comeback routes. That's something that you should have a player like Hayden Hurst or a wide receiver or a running back doing, not a fullback. So that just goes to show you that Dirk Cutter's play calling is just crazy. Like I said, I do think that it was one of his better games at calling plays, but that still doesn't, he's still on the hot seat because I feel like the play calling is still bad, even though it was one of his better games at calling plays, because I think he did a good job of getting guys open and mixing things up. We've seen Laquan Treadwell actually have a touchdown in this game. And we've seen the ball being spread around between Russell Gage and Calvin Ridley, who also was able to eclipse that 1,000-yard mark on the season, which is shout outs to Calvin Ridley for that. I still believe that it was just a poor play calling down the stretch, and it was not enough run plays in this game. And it was bad usage of Keith Smith. You never want to use a fullback unless he's a pass catching fullback. You never want to use a fullback with butt and hook routes and screen passes and things of that nature. That's not Keith Smith's game. Keith Smith is a blocker, mainly a blocker, and a guy that you use on short yardage downs, like 4th and 1 when they ran the ball and they gave it to Keith Smith. That was a smart play. But the plays where you're splitting Keith Smith out wide and having him run routes, those are stupid plays. Those are dumb plays. Eliminate those plays from the playbook immediately. Another thing I wanted to touch on really quick, a bright spot in this game was the defense. The defense continues to improve. I've been very happy with them, the way that they've been standing up when they need to, getting turnovers. Deion Jones, Foye Aluakon, Grady Jarrett, the usual suspects stepped up. AJ Terrell, I love the way that Jeff Ulbrich is using him, allowing him to follow the number one receivers. He was shadowing Keenan Allen in this game. Keenan Allen was giving him the business, but at the end of the day, he was manned up a lot on one-on-one coverage, and Keenan Allen was running a lot of short routes, like on 3rd and 1, a lot of option routes, 3rd and 2, 3rd and mediums, 3rd and 5, and stuff like that. And you can't really stop a guy from catching slant patterns and things of that nature. But for the most part, Keenan Allen wasn't able to get over the top. He didn't really have any explosive plays in this game. So that's shout outs to AJ Terrell. I definitely think that AJ Terrell is going to be a Pro Bowler, all first team type of defensive back. He's just in his rookie year, but he's well beyond his years. I definitely think that he's definitely the best cornerback on this team. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Isaiah Oliver and his tackling ability. I definitely think that they should give Isaiah Oliver a look. Maybe at the safety position right now, because we're really shorthanded. They're playing Sherrod Niesman, who doesn't really have any range whatsoever. He did play pretty well in this game. He's a veteran guy that's been in the system for a couple years, so he definitely knows the scheming and things of that nature. But if Rico Allen is not coming back anytime soon from that concussion, I definitely think that we should give Isaiah Oliver some looks at that safety position just to see what we have before we draft the guy. I definitely would see what we have. I also would give Jalen Hawkins in these last couple games a look at that safety position. He's another guy that we drafted this year, that's his natural position. So I definitely would give Isaiah Oliver and Jalen Hawkins more of a look at that safety role. We pretty much know what Sherrod Niesman is. He's just a third string, guy, special teamer. But I definitely would give those guys on that back end a look. I've been really impressed with Keanu Neal. Coming back from the injury, knock on wood, he's played a full season so far. So shout outs to Keanu Neal. Hopefully we can bring him back, on another contract, maybe a short-term contract with some incentives where he can get some guaranteed money. But I definitely think we should bring him back. He is that enforcer on our team. Him and Ofoye Oluokun deserve new contracts. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from the defense in general. They've really been carrying the load for our team the last half of the season. Another thing that I noticed in this game, and I've noticed over the last couple weeks, and this is going to be pretty much me wrapping up this video, is Charles Harris. I'm not seeing Charles Harris on the field at that defensive end position. He played a lot early on in the season. He actually played well early on in the season, but it looks like for whatever reason, he may be in the doghouse with Raheem Morris or with Jeff Ulbrich. I'm not too sure what the deal is with Charles Harris, but I definitely think he's one of those guys that should be getting more snaps. We have Steven Means and Jacob Tuioti-Mariner, and those guys have played well. But I do think that we need to mix in some Charles Harris. I haven't seen enough of this guy. I was really excited when we brought him in because if you remember, he was a first-round draft pick out of Missouri. And he's one of those guys that was drafted by the Miami Dolphins that we brung in the offseason. So he's another guy that I feel like we're just not using these guys. We're not giving guys a chance to be successful. We're not giving guys an opportunity to show what they have. So what's the point of drafting these guys and bringing in free agents if you're not going to play these guys? The same thing with Quadri Olesen. Same thing with Deidre Sanat. These guys that are consistently on the inactive list. I feel like it's time to start giving these guys a go. Another guy that I think has gone forgotten and nobody's really said anything about it is Jordan Miller. Jordan Miller was another guy that came out of college for the University of Washington. And I think he's in like his third season, but he's another guy that has disappeared. Like I haven't heard anything out of him. Weeks ago, it came up that he was, being activated because he was suspended early in the season. But after hearing that in like week 5, I haven't heard anything. So I don't even know if he's still on the Falcons, if he's still a part of the team. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know what happened to this dude. But to me, we're just not doing a good job of playing all of these guys that we have and evaluating talent. It's time for us to start evaluating talent. Now that we're outside of the playoffs looking in, I would go ahead and start playing some of these young guys. It came out today that Julio Jones is day-to-day. At this point, I wouldn't throw Julio back on the field unless he's 100%. Even if he's 90%, I wouldn't play Julio Jones. Yes, I do want to win some of these games down the stretch. But what we don't want to happen is Julio Jones comes out there not 100% and gets injured and, tears his hamstring or does something and gets injured and we're not playing for anything. At this point, we're just playing for pride. We know what Julio Jones is at this point. There's no sense of throwing Julio out there at this point in the season. It's pretty much a lost season. We're now 4-9. There's no point in throwing him out there. Unless he's 100%, I don't want to see any more Julio Jones this year. And it's the same thing with Russell Gage and Calvin Ridley and all of these guys. If they're not 100% and these guys are injured, don't throw these guys out there. We know that Calvin Ridley's been battling a foot injury, and he played very well in Sunday's game against the Chargers. He had over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. But I don't want to see anybody get injured or having a season-ending injury towards the later half of this season, the last 3 games of this season. It's time to start evaluating the talent that we have. These young guys, the Christian Blakes, the Brandon Powells. Throw these guys out there and see what they have. If Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones and these guys are healthy, then, that's fine and well. I will go ahead and play these guys because we play to win every game. I don't want to see us tanking or anything like that. But if guys are not 100%, like a Julio Jones who's been battling that lingering hamstring all year, Calvin Ridley with the ankle injury and stuff like that, don't throw these guys out there and put them in harm's way to be, knocked out for next season. We want to go into next season fully healthy if possible. It's been a crazy year. And I've been very, disappointed with the way that the year has turned out for our Falcons. but I'm gonna continue to give you guys, the most content I can, the best content I can. So you guys just continue to tune in. We're gonna get through this year. I do think that this coaching staff is going to be wiped, clean. Everybody's going to be let go. And then I do expect us to bring in a whole new coaching staff, hopefully an offensive minded head coach who can, get the best out of Matt Ryan and get the best out of this team, and use the strengths of this team, run the football, bring some creative schemes to this team, and get the ball rolling in the right direction, because it looks like the defense have figured it out. They found their niche. If we can add a couple of guys up front on the defensive line to go alongside Grady Jarrett and Dante Fowler, if we can bring in like another legitimate pass rusher, I really think that we'll be right back in the mix next year, back in contention for the playoffs and contending for a Super Bowl. I just think we're a couple players away, couple pieces away on defense. And then on offense, we just really need to bring in an offensive mind that's creative, that can, have some imagination. Because right now, it just Dirk Cutter, I'm tired of talking about him. It's been this same deal all season. He's hard-headed. He refuses to change his ways. He refuses to run the football. And basically all he's doing is putting Matt Ryan in harm's way, putting Matt Ryan in bad positions and bad predicaments. It's no way that Matt Ryan should only be sitting at 19 touchdowns on the season. I was just looking up a stat earlier today, and it's a shame. Matt Ryan is top 5 in passing yards this season, but he hasn't thrown but only 19 touchdowns, which shows you that all goes back to coaching and creativity. We're just not seeing the creativity that we need from Dirk Cutter. I was looking at comparing Matt Ryan's stats to Drew Brees, who has been injured for at least 4 to 5 weeks. And Drew Brees has already thrown 18 touchdowns to Matt Ryan's 19 touchdowns. And this guy's missed at least 3 or 4 games, maybe 5 games already. And he's only 1 touchdown shy of Matt Ryan. That just goes to show you that it's poor coaching, poor play calling. It's no way that Matt Ryan shouldn't already have 20 plus, 25 plus touchdowns thrown on the season. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I thank you guys for tuning in. I will be going live at some point just to, talk to the fans, hear what you guys think about the season so far. And we'll talk about the draft coming up. We'll talk about the head coaches, the GMs that we possibly may bring in for our Atlanta Falcons. You guys just stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to have a lot more content coming for you guys. I appreciate you guys. But with that being said, this being your boy Jew. And I just want to put a quick plugger in. You guys definitely tune in this evening to AFN, Atlanta Falcons Nation. We will have our 8 o'clock show. It's not the Atlanta Falcons Heavy Hitters. It'll be ATLian Sports Zone with Big Country Low and Terror Artist 404. So definitely tune in to my bros over there at AFN. They will be having their show tonight. So definitely tune into that. They have great Atlanta Falcons content for you guys as well. But with that being said, this being your boy Jew. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for your boy. And as always, Falcons Nation, rise up. I'll holler at you guys in the next video. As always, peace. A-Town down. I'll holler at you guys.